This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers monthly technical webinar. And this is our first webinar for 2023, so I'd like to wish everyone in attendance a happy new year. This is a CPD event, that is, it is a continuous professional development event and carries a value of 2 CPD points. Please contact our secretariat to have your CPD information forwarded to you should you wish to claim those points for professional purposes. A bit of housekeeping. Please note that these sessions are run as follows. I will introduce our presenter, and the format will be slightly different this evening. As opposed to Mr. Williams doing a formal presentation, we'll be having an interactive discussion between him and I, after which then we will open the floor as we usually do to have some interaction from the audience in attendance, where you could ask Mr. Williams some questions and he will happily interact with you. We ask that if you are that you mute your electronic device whilst we are having our discussion. And when it is time for the interactive part where you're going to have the questions and answers, that you either raise your hand in the chat or you just indicate, you can actually put a message in the actual chat if it is that you do not want to ask the question in person, and I can forward and ask that question to Mr. Williams on your behalf. So Mr. Williams is showing you that the Business Made Easy, a practical guide to starting and managing business. That's a book written by Mr. Williams, which we will be featuring some content from this afternoon as well. Before we get into the meat of the matter, as it were, I just want to remind our membership that it is a time of year when your annual fees are due, and we'd ask that you contact the secretariat before the end of the month to make yourself financially correct, so that we can get those fees in. Those fees are very important to the running of the Secretariat office, and we're just asking our membership to please be mindful of that and to get your fees paid up if you so can do. We also ask you to contact the office to indicate your willingness to serve on any subcommittees or any board positions that may be coming vacant this year. If you are interested in doing such, please do contact the office, contact Stacy, and make her aware of that, so that we can have persons to draw from should board or committee positions become vacant. We also like to extend congratulations to our second vice president, Mr. Ray Moe, who recently has become a father for the first time. So congrats to Ray. And condolences to some of our members who have suffered any loss in the last 2 months and in recent times. John Maxwell quotes John Maxwell in his books, How Successful People Think, states the following: good thinkers are always in demand. A person who knows how may always have a job, but the person who knows why will always be his boss. Good thinkers solve problems. They never lack ideas that can build an organization, and they always have hope for a better future. Those who develop the process of good thinkers can rule themselves, even while in difficult circumstances. In short, good thinkers are successful. The right thought plus the right people in the right environment at the right time for the right reason will equal the right result. And he goes on further and he says, people who go to the top think differently than others. On the 30th of November 2022, Her Excellency the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Pernella Mason, Dame Grand Cross, Freedom of Barbados, the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Dame of St. Andrew, Queen's Counsel, Doctor of Laws, President of Barbados, has consented to the announcement of national honors on the occasion of the 56th anniversary of independence of Barbados. One of the recipients on that occasion that received this nation's highest honor was the Most Honorable Ralph Samuel de Courcy Williams, fondly known by all as Bizzy. The national honor of the Freedom of Barbados was bestowed by Her Excellency for distinguished and extraordinary service to Barbados, the Caribbean diaspora, and for humanity at large, for his contribution as an entrepreneur and a pioneer of the green development in Barbados. This evening, we are indeed honored to have as our specially invited guest the Most Honorable Ralph Bizzy Williams. Just to give you some general background of our guest, he's an engineering fellow. The Most Honorable Ralph Williams is the founder of the chairman of Williams Industries Incorporated. He is the holder of an electrical engineering degree with honors from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. He has been described as a visionary and a calculated risk taker with an uncanny ability to spout business opportunities in the bleakest of circumstances. Over the past 51 years, he, along with his team and staff, have built one of the Caribbean's leading conglomerates on a foundation of integrity, honesty, and dogged determination. Engineer the Most Honorable Williams, welcome to the Barbados Association's webinar broadcast for January 2023, sir.
Thank you
We
very
are,
much indeed for
yes,
giving
we
me the
are
opportunity to speak, and I'll do the best I can.
fantastic. We are indeed honored that you could afford us a bit of your time this afternoon as we discuss you, the individual, get to understand your work ethic, and to gain a greater appreciation of your achievements to date, and to permit you to impart some knowledge, some encouragement, and some inspiration during this process. Welcome to you again, sir.
Thanks again.
All right, so let's move to the first question, where we hope to get to know you as an individual a bit better. Can you give us some insight into your early background in terms of your growing up as a youngster, and then your life at the law school, and then your university experience? So can you give us a snapshot of Bizzy Williams the Younger?
But I'll try to make it brief. I was born not far from where I'm sitting right now, at Edge Hill. My father was the manager of that estate, owned by H.O. Emptage, the late H.O. Emptage, of course. At 3 years old, my father borrowed some money from Mr. Emptage to buy Foster Hall Plantation in St. Joseph, which is a very hilly thing and very difficult to work as a sugar estate. So it was a low price. My father sold everything. My father and mother sold every bit of furniture they had to raise the 1,000 pounds sterling in those days. And Mr. Emptage lent them 9,000 to go with it to buy that estate. I grew up there, and my mother chose not to buy me any toys. It could have been because of family budget constraints, but when I cried for toys, which I saw other little boys like me have, my mother would always say, if you want to play with toys, make your own toys. That was a very, very good decision that she made, because that caused me to think and improvise and to do all sorts of things. So I would make sugarcane trucks, lorries then in those days, using a corned beef top as the bonnet, under which, of course, the engine would be. Shoe polish tins as the wheels, and I even destroyed one of her clocks to get the springs, which I wasn't a really popular thing with my mother, but anyhow, that's how it was. So generally speaking, that's how I started innovating and doing things that I needed to have. Went from there to St. Joseph Rectory School. Mrs. Griffith, sorry, the pastor's wife started to teach us there. Then I went to Miss Jordan's primary school in Pothouse Hill in St. John, and from there to the Lodge School. when I arrived at the lodge school, I was put in 1C. But that was the farm where all the bad boys were put, because that was in the pavilion, and they want to keep the bad boys the farthest away as possible from the rest of the school, so that it wouldn't cause any disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was assumed to be a bad boy was because my brothers before me, all of them went to lodge school, and some of them were pretty rough. So after I was there for a while, I met people like Kay Ford, Challoner Jones, some real ruffians, Flaccus Ward. I think he spent most of this time digging a hole in the saltstone walls into which he was planning to put dynamite and blow the thing down. Anyhow, we went from there then to put me into 1A. 1A, I met with Sir Henry Fraser and Paddy Roach. Two of those guys, Sir Henry never knew in his entire school career, he never knew what it was like to come second in class. Paddy Roach always came second, except the final exam for the Barbados Scholarship, which both of them won. Paddy beat him. He went off to, his father was the manager of Three Houses Factory. So he went off to Canada to study at McGill University. And Sir Henry went to University of the West Indies. And I went to the University of the West Indies as well. But I was not one of those very bright guys. So I used to come around the 15th in the class of 30. And I would focus more on getting things done, except in physics and chemistry and biology, I was pretty good. Mm-hmm. So that's about it. After lodge school, the experience at the university was quite interesting. I went to university in Jamaica and started, and because I had failed Latin, of course, I didn't like Latin at all, so I wasn't doing all Latin. And I was not partial to French either, because I got a flogging for something I did that the French teacher did not like. Mm-hmm. And I ended up in Jamaica doing the prelim before studying engineering. I did well in that. And then I went to study in Trinidad.
Okay.
In Trinidad, I met a number of Bajan guys, so we all got together, and you know, it was quite interesting. Yeah, the people that I was with in Trinidad were like Cedric Archer, who became the chief technical director in the MTW. Professor Winston Mellows, who did chemical engineering, and he is still around in the university. Mm-hmm. And a man called Harold Hart, he went off to study. He did chemical engineering, and Bernard Skinner, he did mechanical engineering. So we were all, and of course Peter Hoyas, who is now who started the company to make solar water heaters and so on.
Right.
Yeah, that's about it in university. Mm-hmm. When I was there in Trinidad, I smuggled some material and so on out of the lab and built the first hovercraft scene in Trinidad, which worked, and it was controlled and everything, and it made a feature in the Trinidad Guardian. Oh. But of course, it got me in trouble because the question is, where did you get this material from, sir? So, yeah.
In my research, at your time at Lord School, I was told of a scenario where there was a small explosion in the chemistry lab. Could you illuminate on that a bit?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't illuminate too much on the. Look, we better not get into this because it could get me in trouble as old as I am.
Okay, let's not get you in trouble.
Yeah. But after while I was at lodge school, I sort of invented rocket fuel, solid fuel for rockets, and made a number of rockets and experimented with different rocket engines and so on. And at the same time, the Russians had launched Sputnik.
Right.
So I thought it would be a good idea to send a lizard into orbit. And that's another story. It got me in a lot of trouble with my father because the last rocket, um, uh, I had a friend who was not as bright as you would like a fella knocking around with rockets to be. And he was assigned the task of putting the trigger to start the rocket under the rocket, which was standing.
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to fire the trigger, then knock over the rocket when it started to go off. And it went and through the pine door of my father's horse stable, hit the back wall, exploded, and there was horses all over the place. So I had to run from home to Paddy Roach's home at Three Houses and stay there for a while. My
So you
father
had,
was not impressed.
okay. So you always had that keenness of mind to want to invent, want to build, want to find out how things were done and to do them
Yes,
yourself. That
that
started from you.
curiosity. Uh, my mother used to tell me, "Curiosity killed the cat." Be careful.
Yeah.
Sometimes the house would be full of dense smoke when I was testing some fuel or the other in my bedroom.
Okay.
So anyhow, let's move on.
Yes, please. All right. So I recounted two instances in your late brother's Sir Charles Williams autobiography titled Simply Cow, where he mentions some interaction with you as a young man. In the first instance, he says, one of the first mentions is of an instance when you were still, well, when he was still residing and managing Foster Hall Estate, and you were on your summer break from UE, when you both worked through the night with a group of local fisher folk in Tent Bay to haul up some 20 boats with a hawser cable and chain using an old Fordson tractor due to the
Yeah.
onset of a tropical storm. What was that experience like for you at that time, Mr. Williams?
Well, there were two tractors down there, a crawler tractor with tracks, of course. That was the government tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a big four-wheel drive Ford Forson tractor. So we carried that down there. And he drove the tractor, which was pretty safe. It had a winch on it and all that. But
Right.
my tractor that he gave me to drive at the advanced age of a boy was placed up on the road with a hawser, and I was at one stage pulling up this boat, and a huge wave came in, broke over the boat, and sucked it back out, and it was sucking my tractor right over the edge of the cliff.
Wow.
So, and the wheels were both going forward, but the tractor was going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I probably escaped probably death on that occasion, which I think that when it was all done, my brother maybe had bought me something. He submitted an insurance claim, and he gave me a few dollars.
Right.
So we did a good job for the fishermen.
Right. But obviously it was
My eldest brother's boat, unfortunately, was not saved, and that was broken in half on the rocks right outside of Tent Bay, on the northern end side of Tent Bay, and the engine remained there for many years on top of the rock.
wow.
Huge waves.
Okay. So obviously that was an event I think that would have seared itself in your mind, but obviously you would have applied yourself to the activity at hand and probably not really given much thought to the danger that you're in.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's the story of my life. I don't give much thought to the danger, and it ends you up in some trouble too, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm still here at 80.
Thankfully for that. Well, the next more significant mention in the book, which gives the onlooker a glimpse into the man you were destined to become in business as an employer, was when he spoke about the formation of Sir Williams Electrical Limited in 1972. He relates the following, and I quote, "Bizzy was ahead of his time when he came up with that ownership model, which is still very rare in Barbados even today. But he was 100% right, and it being one of the main factors behind his tremendous success over the years." Indeed, in your company's online bio, it speaks to the company being defined as a joint venture between the providers of labor and the providers of capital, in which the two share equally in the benefits created by the business. So my question to you, sir, explain to us how you derive this ownership model, which in 1970s Barbados would have been a complete different paradigm for a white businessman to pursue at that time. And what have you found to be the advantage of this model over the past 51 years in business?
Well, first to begin with, the first company before C.O. Williams Electrical was Terrapin Racing and Developments Limited. And that I formed with to an English partner who had written a book entitled High Speed, Low Cost. I didn't have the money to buy the fancy cars that the other guys had to race at Bushy Park, although I was the initial force that got Bushy Park built. But I didn't have the money, so I figured the best thing to do is to build your own car. And so we built that car, and we were doing well with the little business and so on until then the union came and decided that they wanted to have. I used to give the staff 25% of the profit plus their wages.
Right.
The union came along and they said that they didn't want any part of that. They just wanted a big fixed increase, and according to them, the profitability of the business would be my affair. They had nothing to do with that. But I figured even then that if a company is not profitable, you might as well not have it. So.
Sorry, Mr. Williams, you've muted. Yeah. You turn off your video and you're still muted.
Yeah.
Yes, we have you back.
Yeah. So that was a very stressful period of for me, you know. Mm-hmm. But before even that, I had started a little business with Victor Hewitt, who was one of the founders of C.O. Williams Electrical. And it was a little electrical business to design and do electrical contracting when I was at the West India Biscuit Company. And that, when my brother offered me the job to manage his workshop, I said to him, I will accept the job, but I would like to bring my little business along and continue running it with Victor Hewitt. Victor Hewitt was a black man, mm-hmm. Or he was not black, but he nowadays we call anybody that ain't white black. You know that I don't understand it, but anyhow. So Victor and I had a nice little business going. We did electrical for Courtesy Garage when it was thing. And so we brought that company in, and I made an arrangement with my brother that I would get 25% of the profit that company made. for bringing it. Well, the company did well. So Mickey Hutchinson, who was his financial controller, he came and said, look, we can't do this because that's not in the Articles of Association of C.O. Williams Construction. So we decided we form a separate company, C.O. Williams Electrical, with Victor owning 25%. I owned, I can't remember how much now, 33 or 40%. Cow owned the same, and then the rest was divided among Bill Gill and Mickey Hutchinson. So that's how C.O. Williams Electrical came about.
Right.
And the 25% that my brother arranged to for me to have, I kept as I formed new companies all along, I always kept the same percentage for him that he owned in the first instance. So I thought to myself, I cannot run this business myself. And if I want people to work hard and give their best, then they should be able to share in the success of the business. So I wrote the definition of Williams Industries that you have just read out.
Yes.
And call that my mantra. This is how I want Williams. Williams Industries had not been formed yet. That came later on when we had a lot of companies and we wanted to bring them all together under one parent company.
Right.
So
okay.
that is the definition of Williams Industries that I wrote then, and I'm very happy about it. Because we earmarked 25% of the profit to be divided among all the employees, and the shareholders cannot draw more than 25% of the profit in dividends. The remaining 50% goes towards, you have to find ways to expand the company to invest that money. So that is why we've grown so fast. Well, not so fast, but over 50 years, we've grown to a pretty sizable organization.
Fantastic. So if I'm just to look at the companies that are currently existing, you have 13 core companies inclusive of Structural Systems, Williams Electrical, Williams Metals, which are the better known ones, but also including H&B, Big Gases, BRC, Bridge Street Mall, Caribbean Metals, Coles Engineering, Odyssey Trading, SBRC Sky Mall, Williams Solar. You have 7 joint ventures, including Burger King, Ionics, and Williams Caribbean Capital, which I think is one of your more recent ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have 5 affiliates at present. 2 out of those affiliates that persons would know will be Millennium Heights and Port St. Charles. In your book, Business Made Easy, that you initially penned one night in 1998, you wrote, and I quote, "Without being driven by intense, all-consuming passion for success, Williams Industries would not exist today. I confess that a major contribution to this passion for success was the need in my heart to be different and to win the respect of my peers and friends who helped me along the way." My question, therefore, is that after 51 years in business, does that desire and drive still burn within you to push you to continue to create and build new opportunities here in Barbados, regionally and now internationally?
It's a danger, and I'll tell you why it's a danger, because you also may have read that in order to create a entity that will last for hundreds of years, you have to select and find people to succeed you. My mantra is that you cannot be promoted unless you can identify the person to succeed you. So I have hired a very talented CEO no, he was hired first as a CFO.
Right.
That would be Andre Walcott. And then he performed so well that we promoted him to CEO of the company. And in the last 3 years, I have backed off of making the day-to-day decisions and avoided overruling him. And he's done extremely well. In the bottom line has improved a lot.
Right.
So I am still driven, but I have to restrain myself from interfering. Because
Understood.
when I close my eyes, there's going to be nobody we have to prove that he is the right man.
Right.
So the only way to do that while I'm still alive is to let him do it.
Fair enough.
So the results over the last 3 years have been very good. And I am confident that he's the right man. And so I have officially changed my title from executive chairman to non-executive chairman from the beginning of 2023.
Okay.
So I am now more or less looking for new opportunities out there, but not to start myself, but to feed back to the team here.
Right.
Of course, you know that David Staples has been our new projects developer for 20 odd years, probably, or more. And so we have extremely good people in the mix. And you've probably heard me quote more than once that the secret to my success is to surround myself with people who are brighter than I am.
Yes.
Right. So while I will have trouble fiddling with this computer and getting the thing right and so on, those guys will be able to do it with their eyes shut.
Right.
The difference is that I can spot an opportunity a mile away. Right. So I will still be out there looking for opportunities, but I would bring them to the team back here, to Williams Caribbean Capital, to Andre, to John Francis, and to those fellas, and of course Sherry Brown, who is the CFO, and let them develop the projects.
Okay. So, Mr. Williams, based on its current trajectory and your organization's strategic plan, where do you see this conglomerate that you have spent your entire life building with your team and staff to be in the next 20 years?
Well, in the last 3 years, we have grown our bottom line by almost 30% per annum. And obviously, you know my involvement in the alternative energy.
Yes.
I would like to be alive when Barbados can claim to be even 90% or even 80% powered by renewable energy.
Okay.
I would still like to be alive to see that happen, and I'm hoping that between the Fair Trading Commission and the Light and Power and whatnot can find peace and work out a way to be able to continue connecting systems. Right now, we have reached a block in the road where the feeders are up to capacity and storage has to be installed, but there's no rate structure to make investment in storage bankable. Right. So that is going to bring everything to a halt if we don't solve that problem.
Okay.
I'm hoping that it will be solved. Now, Barbadians have to understand that renewable energy costs all the equipment required to produce renewable energy is paid for in foreign exchange by saving on the import of oil in less than 3 years. So my argument is we may have to pay a little bit more for the electricity, but at least it will be consistent. The price won't be going up and down.
All right.
And you will be saving the foreign exchange that you're throwing away every year to buy oil.
Okay.
I think
Well,
the BAPE has already worked out how much we spend in oil every year. So let's move on.
Yeah.
That's one of the objectives that I would like to see, but I am not saying that that's all we want to do.
Yes, I
We
understand.
want to improve our efficiency and to seize opportunities as they crop up, and they will crop up. Every investor from God knows wherever in the world that wants to come to Barbados to invest seem to find their way to our door. Why? Because we don't play the fool with people's money, and we don't attempt to negotiate one-sided business contracts. What we say we do, and that's why people are attracted to Williams Industries.
Well, I find that very interesting because the next question we're going to go to is basically you have established, Mr. Williams, a set of core values within your company that very few corporate entities have formalized and operationalized in the way that your group of companies have. For example, in your group's trading policy, you have indicated the following: our companies will not undercut our dealers, but we will sell to consumers who come to our factories at retail prices, because we believe that customers who enter our premises to buy our products must always receive courteous and efficient service. Another aspect of that policy states, we are firm believers that the key to our success is to find ways to deliver more for less. And then in your company's code of conduct, number 2, it says our company will pursue its business interests vigorously and competitively and will aim to maximize growth and profitability by every fair means at its disposal. It will not engage in bribery of any government or other official to obtain business. My question, sir, in a modern corporate world, where such noble values seem almost out of step with the proverbial cutthroat approach to business today, how do you manage to maintain these core values in such an evolving, diverse, and expanding organization?
Look, there comes a time when you have to make up your mind what you stand for. And that's what we stand for. And we're not compromising it. We're just not compromising it. We have been people come and hammer us to change and do things that would deviate from what our core values are, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I could be a lot richer, a lot richer, but on my deathbed, I don't want to have to worry about those things. All I wanted to do when I lay down to die is die with a clear conscience, hopefully remembering all the smaller people that I have helped to grow into big businesses and successful businesses, even not big, but successful business that conduct themselves according to the same basic principles. Say what you're going to do and do it. This is it in a nutshell. It's not complicated. The golden rules in my book are very simple. Yeah. If you stick to them and don't compromise, you will succeed. Although it may take you a little bit longer, it will last a lot longer too. The success will last.
Fantastic. Okay. In recent years, we have seen the divestment of several locally owned, successful companies in all instances to foreign interests. I speak namely of Barbados Shipping and Trading, Barbados Light and Power, the Sol Group, Collins Pharmacy and Carlisle Laboratories, Simpson Motors, just to name some of the major ones. With your group being as successful as it has been, how have you been able to keep the family silver, as it were, from being bought out by foreign interests within the region or further afield?
Well, to be quite honest with you, there is a company that specializes, and not a local company, a foreign company, that specializes in creating opportunities for family business to cash out at a handsome price, and to overseas, or what they call strategic buyers.
Mhm.
Some company or big company from the thing might want to come in and buy us out for strategic reasons. They want to get into the Caribbean.
Right.
I will admit that I've been tempted, but I have resisted the idea, because those people who have helped to build this company, I would feel guilty by walk away from them,
Mhm.
because I don't know what will happen to them when I gone.
Right.
That is why I've employed a local CEO who is very focused on the same sort of things that he. But I can't speak for Andre, but from what I have observed, he is thinking along the same lines. He may be a little bit stricter than I am, because I am the easy boy that everybody can can touch up,
Mhm.
And sometimes I allow staff to get away with things that business like operation might not. I worry too much about people and their lives and so on. But and I believe that the company should be owned by who is contributing to the success of the company. So that is why we give shares for long service.
Right.
Anybody that works here for 10 years gets shares. At 15 years, they get more shares. At 20 years, they get more shares. 25 years, they get more shares. So that is, and it gives the people the opportunity, who have helped to build the company, the opportunity to benefit from capital appreciation, because the share value goes up, the more profit we have developed. Although we're a private company, we have a formula that values our shares. Every audit, when complete, the numbers are fed into the formula, and out comes the share value. And the share value goes up, everybody benefits. So as I said, I could be much, much richer than I am,
Mhm.
but I'm happy to be how I am.
Fantastic.
I
How?
look, I have
Mhm.
been tempted here to drive a fancy car and so on. I went through that stage when I was younger.
Right.
The first Mercedes Benz that I drove, my office manager at the time, Mr. Bill Gill, conspired with my wife while I was home sick with a burst of appendicitis, and they bought a Mercedes, beautiful vehicle, from Sir Kiffin.
Right.
When I got to where I could walk again and come outside, I looked in the garage and saw this beautiful Mercedes. I said, "What you all gone and done? What have you done?" Anyhow, I drove the car. I was so proud of it. I brought it to work, and I took the guys around and drove them in the car and all the rest of it. And one night I went to a cocktail party, but every time I went on a construction site and somebody passed near this car with a wheelbarrow, I'm saying to them, whoa, they're going to scratch it.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a party one night, and Dr. St. John, the eye guy, he came in and he admired the car. He said, man, you got a beautiful car. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, what you came here in? He said, but I got 5-year-old Subaru.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you have the keys? He said, well, yeah, here are the keys. I said, well, these are the keys to the Mercedes. You carry that home, come to the office on Monday, and we can arrange a swap, and I'll give you 3 years to pay for it. And that was the end of the Mercedes.
Okay.
I later got some Mercedes too, and they drove beautifully and so on. But I don't know, man. I must be cut from a different cloth or something. So when the opportunity to have an electric vehicle came up, I had the first one that came to the island. Megapower brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I had a test drive on one in London, around about in London, and I found that the instant acceleration was thrilling. So when they decided that they would import them, I got the first. And I've been driving electric for 9 years now.
Okay. All right. So how do we, Mr. Williams, as a people, keep more of our businesses in local hands? What methodologies must successful local companies consider in a corporate world where mega corporations and conglomerates seem to have their pick of the companies?
You know, the big question is, I don't want to criticize anybody who has sold their company to international bidders. I will not, because Mr. Peter Bourne was a staunch supporter of local industry. Mr. Bourne would not buy a building from anybody but Structural Systems. And Sir David Steele and his family, every single one of their buildings were built in Barbados from us. And there were others as well. So those people are thing. But you know, if your family doesn't want to continue in the business, and you're not sure about having somebody to continue it along the lines that you would like it to continue, then I guess it goes without saying that you need to look for a buyer that will grow the company and so on. I believe that we have the right people to grow ours, but maybe the other people who saw opportunities I didn't see, I haven't seen. When we own 25% of Digicel, and that was what can I say? I don't want to sell the 25%. I could sell the 25% of Digicel tomorrow if I wanted to, and probably reap a big profit on it. But I don't really want to do that. So I guess the local company owners need to make up their mind if it's a family business and the family doesn't want to continue running that business, well, then you can't expect them not to sell it.
Right. Okay.
In my case, Andre and David Staples and those fellas, John Francis and Sherry Brown and so on, they're not my family, but both of my children run their own successful businesses, very successful. I started from scratch, because from the time they were in the height of grasshopper, I told him, let me explain to you the facts of life. You're never coming to Williams Industries to get a cushy job because only grave diggers start at the top. So if you want to get a job in the Williams Industries company, you start from the bottom.
Mhm.
And my daughter, her first job was to fill in for the telephone operator when we were at Warren's.
Yeah.
And she got her break when we were building Port St. Charles, and we needed a on-site interior decorator and so on. And I gave her a opportunity to do the first unit through Thomas Herbert, and she did a beautiful job. And from then on, the people that bought property there wanted her to do their unit. So that's how Nat's Home Furnishings started and grew. And my son Stuart, he managed to persuade Steve Hobson from NSG Exports to ship him a container of concrete mixer parts. That's how he started his business. He rented a little space from us, assembled the concrete mixers, and started renting concrete mixers. Now he's the biggest equipment rental company in the island.
Yes.
So, and he's still driving the old pickup truck.
Some apple don't fall far from the tree.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
But
But
sorry, are you
both
saying
of us like racing cars and speed.
yes?
And both of us stopped racing when our children got to the age where a dead father would have really hurt the family. So that's the reason I stopped, and he stopped the same time.
Well, are we then saying, sir, that the way a traditional family business is constituted, that persons need to look at that structure if they want the business to continue in Barbados?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, that is my feeling.
Okay. All right. So your approach to business was based on your personal vision, drive, and as you have alluded to in your book, seek a solid business partner, a solid business or partner who is willing to invest 10 to 20% of the capital the business will need. In your instance, you were blessed to have the backing of the other great Barbadian businessman, your brother, Sir Charles Williams. The question is, given the risk-averse nature of our financial institutions in Barbados, what is your advice to that young entrepreneur who is looking for that angel investor to get their company up and moving in 2023? Is it becoming more difficult to break into certain business categories in Barbados in the face of growing external investment and brands coming in?
It is not easy. It is not easy. And I will tell you this now. You just got to pursue it and be determined to get it done. When I went to a meeting with Rastus Edgel, who was doing a big contract for a very prominent family in Barbados. I will not call the name, but I happened to be there, and Rastus, I had just started, considered forming structural systems. That Rastus knew about that. He gave me a little job, and the building started off leaning a little bit. I had to shim it and so on. But anyhow, Rastus asked the question: Would you consider giving structural systems the job for the next building, because the building that we were putting up at the time was an imported building.
Right.
And the head of the family said, Bizzy is just going to throw away his family's money because there's no way he would ever be able to compete with Condor buildings because they're a huge British company and they will just wipe the floor with it.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to tell you that Condor Buildings has never sold another building in the Caribbean since then.
Oh.
So that made me, that was the best encouragement that that I could have had. You cannot do this. So that's what fired me up to do it, regardless. When I was at Lodge School, they had swales around the science building. And the swales were ideal for racing little push cars. And you had to push the car in such a way that it would go up one side, go down the thing, and then it would reach the corner. And if you did it just right, it would go around the corner. So I developed the technique, and I was winning car racing long before I was driving a real car. Anyhow, they had a mathematics master called Mr. Jarvis. Very good man. But to get to the swale first, when the bell rang, I took a bolt with my little racing car and run into Mr. Jarvis and nearly came down. And he stopped me. He says, Williams, I do believe that you will never make anything in life but a racing car driver. So sometimes challenges like that tend to motivate people.
Yes.
So that incident, that I kept remembering that constantly all the time. All through my business career, I remember Mr. Jarvis.
Wow. So your advice then in a nutshell is to be able to take that adversity and that negativity and to use it and as fuel to push yourself forward.
Turn it on its head. Turn it on its head. I think I have it in the book somewhere about there is no security on earth, just opportunity.
Yeah.
No flash of brilliance can ever defeat persistent, dogged determination. For persistence and determination alone are omnipotent.
Okay. All right. So, Engineer Williams, one of the key areas, as was mentioned in your citation for your honor, and as it pertains to your business interests, is green technology and green initiatives. When did you first develop this interest in green and renewable technology? And when did you see its potential for use in Barbados and the Caribbean?
Well, my life story would show you that almost everything that I enjoy doing, I managed to turn it into a profitable business. So at one stage, we had a lot of negative discussions about white people in Barbados. I talk straight. I ain't here to embellish the truth. But a lot of my friends were saving money overseas. And I decided, you know something, whatever I can save, I would like to invest back in Barbados. But at the same time, in order to protect my family, I would like to invest it in something that could move. Good. So I went and commissioned a Dutch naval architect called Peter Spronk to build the first Miami catamaran. The first Miami catamaran stands for this is a mobile investment.
Right.
And in order for it to be a mobile investment, it would have to be powered so it could sustain life at sea without having to go to the dock. So that's how I researched and found that the photovoltaic cells could convert sunlight into electricity. That was 40 years ago. Oh. So I insisted that the boat was equipped with 8 40-watt photovoltaic cells and they were able to keep the batteries charged and power a freezer on board, as well as all the navigation lights and the instruments. And that's what started me studying photovoltaic electricity. I also installed on that boat a wind turbine up on the front of the boat, which was produce power as well, and we could. So the boat was self-sustained in energy. We could virtually sail around the world if we wanted to, without going into a port, so long as you could catch enough fish to eat.
Right.
So that's the long and short of it. Of course, the Miami catamaran came to Barbados, and the look at what has grown out of it. A multi-million-dollar industry that now there are about 38 catamarans for charter in Barbados. All of them get in business. The amount of foreign exchange that industry is earning Barbados now is tremendous, and all the people that it's employing. So I feel very good about it.
Fantastic. You've been such a strong proponent of this type of technology for a long time in Barbados. And in that time, you have literally put your money where your mouth have been and have invested heavily in it. In a recent newspaper article in the Nation newspaper, you're quoted as stating that Barbados could recoup all of the costs to build out a renewable energy powered grid in approximately 3 years. Whereas a recent study undertaken by the Inter-American Development Bank and the Ministry of Energy and Business Development showed in their research and modeling that the country could stand to lose as much as 105 million per year in taxes as a result of the transition. What are your views on the findings of this particular study, and what modeling have your group undertaken that proves contrary to what has been stated?
Well, look, I think you're an engineer, and we're talking to engineers. So let common sense prevail, sir. Let common sense prevail. The majority of what we use and thing in Barbados is imported. So what is the most important thing to Barbados? The taxes or the foreign exchange? If we are now spending, say, $200 million in oil, or $170 odd million in oil, and we can save that $170 million and pay by buying renewable energy equipment and getting back the $170 million to the central bank within 3 years, and from there on, you're not buying all this oil. You don't think that it's a really good thing to do? Now, you're gonna lose the taxes on the oil, the gasoline tax, and all the rest of it. Well, I guess you could tax the imported vehicles, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But without foreign exchange, you're dead. You could have all the taxes in the world, and without foreign exchange, the island will grind to a halt. You know that.
Yes, sir.
You can't import food. Of course, you could grow your own food, but we haven't got to that stage now where we're self-sufficient in food. Again, I am trying with some farming projects to grow food, and it's not easy in Barbados. But losing the taxes, there are other ways that you could recover the tax by imposing a road tax.
Yeah.
You know, there are other ways that you can tax. And the tax is all Barbados dollars, and make sure that you stop the outflow of goods. When I say the outflow of foreign exchange,
Yes.
to buy oil, and of course, by having electric vehicles, you're not polluting the atmosphere either. People will argue that that a lot of the power required to charge the vehicles is generated by fossil fuel. No, but Williams Industries produces more electricity from photovoltaics and so on from the sun than all of our businesses put together use. So we are already carbon negative.
Right. Okay. How plausible, in your opinion, Engineer Williams, is it for Barbados to produce enough fossil fuel-free energy to meet our development needs, and what diversity in our renewable energy generating capacity needs to be added to the mix that we already have? Because there's a heavy reliance right now on the solar energy aspect. What other technologies do you think we need to introduce into that mix, diversify it a bit?
Well, you only have to look at Scotland. Scotland has wind farms offshore.
Yes.
So we could put up a few wind farms offshore, floating and anchored, tethered to the bottom. That's one alternative. We can convert garbage into electricity, which we have a project right now working on that we're developing to convert garbage into electricity, and also to convert biomass into electricity. So there are lots of different ways that you can generate electricity, and of course, you know that in one day, the sun radiates more energy to the earth than the earth uses in a whole day, in a whole year. Sorry, in a whole year. So it's common sense that if you can improve the efficiency of photovoltaic cells, and you can devise storage methods that are economical and so on, you have the energy problem solved.
Okay. All right, Engineer Williams, we are coming down to the hammer bend approach as we finish this lineup. I would like you to expound on two matters before we turn the forum over to our invited guests, that they could engage you with some questions, sir. The first, this question is, from your perspective, what changes would you like to see introduced into our educational system as an industrialist and an engineer?
I would like to see more focus on practical aspects of engineering, and even like every school should have a photovoltaic or should teach a curriculum in alternative energy. Every single school, and even in the kindergarten schools, I would even introduce some little toys that would show people how, to start the thinking process.
Yes.
But to have, we have a proposal to government now to cover all of the secondary schools with photovoltaic cells, and to give the schools, I can't remember how much it is, but it's a lot of money every year out of the revenue generated from the cells. So it would help the Ministry of Education and so on. And that alone, if you would let the school children get involved and see what is being done, because every school should have a subject which is, number one, tourism should be a subject in the O levels, tourism and renewable energy. You have to teach people to understand the things that are going to sustain them in the future.
Fair enough. And my last question to you for now would be, how important is the disciplines of engineering to Barbados and the region as we look forward to the next stage of our development?
Well, you're asking me a very difficult question there now, because if I answer it truthfully, I might get really, I might get into trouble. But I would really like to see more engineers in government rather than lawyers. Yeah, we need more engineers. Look, a recent survey of the wealthiest people in the world showed that the top row are engineers. The profession that has the highest percentage of wealthy people is the engineering profession.
Yes.
Now, I have to tell you though that some engineers are really risk averse to the extent where the over design. I call them cover the ass engineers. Excuse the language, but the engineering profession is what made Rome rule the world. The engineering profession is what drove the Industrial Revolution to create better living standards and easier life for the world. And it continues. The engineering profession is what invented wheels and transport and all that sort of thing. There is no profession that has done more for human, the quality of human life on this planet than engineering. None.
Okay. I think that's quite a definitive answer. All right, Mr. Engineer Williams, we are now going to open up the floor to entertain some questions from your colleagues. And I would like persons, let me remind you, to either raise your hand that I can call upon you, or if you're feeling a little shy and you want to put your question in the chat, I would invite you to do so now. Please, I would encourage you guys to not lose out on this opportunity to engage with Engineer Williams. This is not an everyday opportunity to engage with one of the most successful Barbadians in our current lives. And I would encourage you, there's no foolish questions. If you have a business, whether it's architectural, engineering, construction, whatever it is, Mr. Williams is here to offer his advice this afternoon. He has over, I think that's not when we did the count, it is over involvement over 30 odd companies. So please do utilize this opportunity to engage Engineer Williams. So who would like to answer the first question, please?
It looked to me like we had a very thorough discussion.
You're a younger schoolmate of yours has a question. Andrew, sir.
Good afternoon,
Andrew
gentlemen, Andrew Hutchinson.
Hutchinson.
And Bizzy, nice to hear your wonderful chat. I want to go back to your school days. I seem to recall when you were in the sixth form at Lodge, you had some contemporaries there that were giants. Henry Fraser, Drayton. They were all in your class?
Paddy Roach, yeah. All
Paddy Roach, Joe Goddard. I mean, that was a sixth form of giants. I mean, I don't know if they've had a sixth form like that since.
Well, I had plenty Barbados scholarships, and of course, Drayton eventually developed a micron, what do you call it now? To see down to molecules, man. Electron microscope.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The German companies and Japanese and all the rest of it bought them.
But the question really is, in the sixth form of that class and culture. Did one member feed on the other? Was there, you must have, as a group, you must benefit from the strength of the people around you.
Of course I did, tremendously, because Paddy was a very good mathematician. Henry was brilliant in every subject. I was not so bright.
Sorry, Mr. Williams, on mute. Yep.
Yes.
Go
So
ahead.
it was great to be at school with those guys. And we got up to we made stuff, the rockets and so on that I was talking about earlier. They came about because of a collaboration between Paddy Roach, Henry, and myself. And I don't want to spread this around, but Paddy and I used to make nitroglycerine in his lab at Three Houses. His father didn't know about it, but yes. So,
Andrew, any further questions, Andrew?
Yeah, you shared a story with me once I thought was worthwhile. One of your earlier interventions as an entrepreneur was at Foster Hall when they had to divert the road and you were collecting toll fees from cars going through your yard. Can you remember that?
I do remember it very clearly, including some of the language that was spilled on me as a little boy of 10 years old, running up to the barrier that my dad, I said to my father, Dad, why don't we put a barrier across the road and let me collect a shilling for every vehicle. So he agreed to that, and he put up some pipes, concreted them into the ground, and had a swing barrier. So the fellas would come down the road to thing and say, I said, you got to pay me a shilling. And some people would pay the shilling and go along. The truck drivers would curse you upside down. And of course, my attitude to that was, well, you could cuss all you like, but unless I get a shilling, I ain't moving this barrier. So that was my first little business, to be honest with you.
All right, that's all for now.
You know what happened then?
Huh?
No, you know what happened? The political representative for the area, what happened after that was the political representative for the area came to my father and said, this cannot continue. So my father said, well, all right, what I would like you to do in exchange for the use of the road is to build a wall. And that wall is a concrete wall, and it stands there up to today. And then my barrier had to be moved.
Okay.
The barrier had a little leverage.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
We have a
but
question.
While you're on, Andrew,
yeah.
I would like to tell the story of how Port St. Charles came about.
Okay.
You remember when I came and asked, when I got cursed by the minister in charge of the port and so on for allowing the ARC rally to go to St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
And I called you, you were a sailor in those days, very keen and so on. I called and told you what the problem, that we need to create a marina somewhere for the thing. And in one night, you created sketches for 3 different locations. You remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
Right. And then in a few days' time, I managed to get Evelyn Graves, asked the whole cabinet to turn up on the site to look at them, and they were very interested in the Port St. Charles site. The Prime Minister did not turn up in that meeting, and that's how it all focused on that area.
So I remember that. I was there for that meeting. Yeah, I remember that.
I have to thank you very much for helping me out with that thing, because as a hydraulic and a civil engineer, I need your
That was just a creative concept that came in a flash.
Yes.
Fantastic. Craig, I'll invite you to answer your question, please.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. Good evening, all. Good evening, Bizzy. I'm a civil engineer, not electrical engineer, and I'm trying to understand the challenge that Light and Power is having now with receiving more renewable energy into the grid. I mean, the recent announcement that they've reached capacity. You mentioned it earlier in your talk. They're reaching capacity in certain parts of the island. I don't know if it's every part of the island. But what is the solution in your view to getting over this hump? Because there is obviously businesses projects were being had been started or are being conceptualized based on some sort of rate of return. Putting photovoltaic panels on roofs, and it seems that all of that's going to come to a grinding halt in 2023 because of this position that we're in. What is in your opinion, is the solution in the I guess short and medium term?
The solution is that you have to install storage. You have to install storage, and there are alternative ways to store electricity. One is with batteries, and the other one, the obvious one, is pump storage, where you build a big lagoon as high as you can get it in the island, another lagoon as low as you can get it, connect the two with a big pipe, and which could be about 15 feet in diameter. And when the sun's shining and the wind blowing, pump the water from the lower lagoon to the upper lagoon and let it reverse when the sun, when not producing electricity. But it will need a lot of changing, or you would have to install the feeder lines and so on to take electricity to and from the storage site. And my view is that is probably the best solution. And I think, and actually Andrew Hutchinson, the same Andrew Hutchinson, he has done a study on and identified the areas where we could have the lagoons. And we've worked out already roughly how big they would have to be, and so on. And it would depend on how much wind we have and how much solar we have, how much biomass and so on. The size of the lagoons will be determined by that. But there are solutions. What we cannot escape is that renewable energy will save us a tremendous amount of foreign exchange, but it will cost a little bit more than fossil fuel energy because of the intermittent nature of it. We have to level out that by installing big rotating flywheels in a vacuum that will compensate for any slight change in frequency. I would welcome an opportunity to meet with you if you need to, and explain, or probably Mr. Blackman from Light and Power could explain it to you. But it can be done. You have to just make up your mind it's what you're going to do.
So the storage is both the domestic consumer and the commercial entity, and also Light and Power. Light and Power then also has to invest in more storage, because otherwise, how the government has indicated their vision is by 2030 that we are, as close to 100% renewable energy as possible. I mean, it doesn't sound to me that is even close,
No.
not very realistic.
And I have to agree with you. Because the rate at which we are progressing is far too slow to achieve that objective. And the Fair Trading Commission has been working nonstop on trying to come up with a rate structure to make the installation of storage bankable. In other words, to give a return that is adequate to repay the finance. Because nobody's going to invest if they don't have a way to repay the finance. So these are things we have to move ahead fast to decide what method of storage we're going to use. And I feel that the reason why I go for pump storage is that it's a proven technology. It has been tested for the last 100 years. It is once installed, it will last 100 years. And a lot of the cost of putting it in place will be local work. So
Bizzy, in your view, that's a public private a PPP type of project.
It has to be.
Is it a government? Yeah.
Of course, it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. Okay, but we have too few engineers in government to make it interesting for them. I don't think the lawyers will understand.
You're not going to make me make any statements that can get me in trouble.
But okay, but in the meantime, say for this year, what does the domestic, the person who has a house and was thinking of putting PV panels on the roof do? I mean,
well,
invest in batteries? No, that you're saying you have to pay an extra whatever $20,000 to put batteries as well.
Unless you can find a half-fused leaf or electric car battery to install because when the electric car battery deteriorates slowly and it gets down to where the car now is only has half its range, the owner will want to change the battery. So take that battery and install it in your home, and you got storage. So even if you can do that and you set it up with the right switching system and so on, and there are people here in Barbados who can do it because they have done it for me at the little restaurant called the Pit Stop down by Warren's. That is powered entirely from photovoltaics on the roof and my half-used leaf battery. And the gentleman there, it runs all the refrigeration in the restaurant. Plus, he plugs in his refrigerated truck at night, and the battery has enough energy to keep it frozen. So that next morning he can go out and do his rounds. So these solutions are available. You know, look, let me put a scenario to you. When President Kennedy decided that he was going to the moon, it was the most difficult thing with the technology to had in those days. That was a monumental task. But once he made up his mind that this is what was going to happen, and the Americans did that, and they got on the moon. So we can all we got to do is to decide as a nation that that's what we're going to do. But the problem is that there are too many people in Barbados who think of themselves only and not of themselves as a part of a nation. That's the problem. And there are people who will file an injunction in the High Court to block the Fair Trading Commission from implementing the hearing, thinking entirely of themselves rather than the future of Barbados. And that is what disappoints me. And I'm, when we make up our mind that we're going to do something, we need to do it. And we have pulled out the stop, and as as you've heard this evening, we do what we say we're going to do. And we put our money where our mouth is. And we've lost a lot of money in a particular project in Barbados. We lost a lot of money because we did what we said we were going to do, and the government didn't do what they said they were going to do. And we took all the licks. But anyhow,
Fair enough. Thanks.
I can't help you much more to say that. Yeah.
Craig, does that complete your question?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have two other questions, and then we'll come to architect Mr. Selby. We have a question in the chat from Kemal Knight, and Engineer Williams is asking, what is your biggest regret in terms of business?
The biggest regret? Oh dear. Well, you know that I got together with some Irish guys and started a Red Jet airline. The government assured us in writing that if we registered the airline in Barbados, they would get Category 1 status with the Grantley Adams Airport. We went ahead and we did what we said we were going to do. And the government made no effort to get Category 1 status for the airport. And so we could not fly into any United States territory. And the most profitable route that would sustain the airline was to fly from Barbados to Fort Lauderdale, early flight in the morning, fly from Fort Lauderdale to Port-au-Prince, back from Port-au-Prince to Fort Lauderdale, and back to Barbados in the evening. The jet would overnight in Barbados and repeat the same thing next day, and two planes, one standby and one in the air, would handle that thing. And that was the bedrock of the Red Jet proposal to start with. But it could not work. So then we had to, because Category 1 status wasn't obtained, we then had to go and beg the then permanent secretary to apply for route rights to Guyana and Trinidad and Jamaica and so on. And it didn't happen. Eventually, the Guyanese gave us route rights to Guyana without Barbados even having to apply. And while Red Jet was running, there are people in St. Lawrence Gap will tell you that their business was booming. When Red Jet shut down, a number of those businesses had to shut down because they didn't have the patronage. The Guyanese used to come over here though and have a great time. So what the lesson I learned from that is that you do what you say you are going to do when the government has done what they say they're going to do.
Fair enough. All right, I have a question for you, sir, from a student, sixth former, Miss Sierra World. Please answer your question.
Yes, please. Good evening to everyone. As Mr. Jones stated, that I am a sixth former at the law school, and I'm looking to pursue a career in civil engineering. What is some advice that you could give me at this point in my life, knowing that I will be graduating from school in the next 4 months?
Well, what the advice I would give you is to try and get the subjects you need to get into universities to study the engineering, and just focus on what you're doing. Don't be distracted by all sorts of. Focus on getting your degree, and be like paranoid with doing it. Once you get your degree, then you're not an engineer when you get an engineering degree. You know, you need to line up a job in a engineering firm, and then you would really learn the practical aspects of engineering. or during the holiday time and so on, try to get a position as a student. And this is what I did when I was at university. I got a job as a student at MTG Electrical, sorry, and I was put to do the electrical drawings for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So I learned a lot of stuff then. So this is the process. You can't really short circuit the process. Work hard, focus on what you want, and don't let anybody deter you. That's my advice. And if you like, you could read my little book, and that might help you understand what you could do after. Well, it's really a life lesson, not just a business book.
Mhm. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Worrell.
Thank you.
Mr. Sir, over to you, sir.
Good evening. Busy, a very enlightening discussion indeed. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Busy, my question goes back to this whole situation about the battery storage. I would like to think that batteries were becoming more and more efficient in a similar manner as to how one's cell phone or mobile phone has pretty much or is as powerful as a computer. Oh, why has it fallen behind? Is it purely business that they don't wish to advance the technology necessary to increase battery storage and make it more efficient?
No. The number one thing that money is being allocated to now in the world, apart from fighting foolish wars, is battery technology. Every advanced country is focused on because efficient. Let us assume that we could develop storage at a quarter of the price that it is now. But the sun will power the entire world. The sun has enough energy coming to the earth that it once you can, and also the photovoltaic cells now are about 21% efficient. They're improving the efficiency all the time. When you get to say 40% efficiency, and you get the batteries that cost a quarter of what they cost now per kilowatt hour of storage, you're going to see a transformation, just like what happened when the photovoltaic panels were too expensive and they didn't make, they were not bankable. I always use the word bankable. If you can borrow money from a bank at an interest rate that the going interest rate, and be able to pay back the bank from the savings that you're going to get with the whatever you borrow the money to do, then there's going to be an explosion in the development. There's going to be an explosion, and as that explosion occurs, the cost of manufacturing the battery going to fall. Now, it is said now, I hear a lot of right-wing big people in America criticizing the policy of renewable energy in the United States, and they're talking about the mining of lithium in the Congo and all the rest of it, harming children, and there will be a breakthrough. It is only a matter of time before there's a breakthrough. Because when cell phones first started, there was a big, as you said, there was some the size, and before that there was no cell phones. Now the phone that I am talking to you on is a folding phone that doubles as a tablet and a phone. So the power of this telephone that I am talking to you on is more than the computing power of the Apollo missions by far.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time. It will happen. That's my feeling. You know.
Okay, Mr. Selby, any follow-up questions before we go to the next?
Oh, I
person?
was just wondering, because that seems to be the logical answer to the problems. And I was just wondering if, for some other reason, it was not, the technology was not being pushed as quickly as it could be.
No, it is being pushed, Tony. But I want to ask you a question now. Have you seen the house designs that produce more electricity than the house itself needs?
I have seen some, yes.
You saw the ones that being built there. So at where is it? Lancaster.
No, I will go and visit though.
But the design was developed in our electrical drawing office.
Wow.
I could send you a copy of it.
Please, no.
We did not want to spend the money to build the model house. Anyhow, it's a long story, and but this, I have done an Excel spreadsheet that shows exactly how this type of roof can help you to repay the mortgage on the house.
Good.
So, and especially when you can install a used electric car battery, which can be dumped anyhow. The first Leaf that I drove, the battery that came out of that, when it was time to change it, is still powering the Mega Power office.
Excellent.
So these things, man, look, you just got to apply yourself to it and stop talking and do it.
Right. Thank you for that, Architect Mr. Selby. Now introduce our President, Colonel Brown, to ask some questions and to interact with Bizzy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all,
Colonel Brown, it's not easy.
I want to say, no, don't do that, Bizzy. I want to say, Bizzy, how much I'm enjoying your presentation. I actually think that this has been an enlightening educational experience that, with your permission, we will want to invite other members to actually have a look at. I think that Barbados really is lucky to have had you and your brother really as citizens, to have done made the kind of contributions that you all have made over the years. And I am particularly proud.
Colonel Brown, stop right there. Let me tell you what's happening. I am developing a bad pain in my back here that my wife tells me it's because your head too big and you're looking at the phone too much. So don't swell my head no more.
No, but serious, Bizzy. As president of BAPE, Engineers in Barbados, I think we've said this to you before, especially when we in the fellowship situation and all that. Yeah. But you have been an inspiration to BAPE. However, I want to say a couple of words about the renewable energy situation, because as you know, BAPE has taken a fairly strong national position on that.
Yeah.
You are obviously right in your general presentations on the issue. We fully support your approach and the assertions that you make about the viability of renewable energy to make a dramatic difference in Barbados. But I want to differ from you in one major area, Bizzy, and I would like you to comment on that. Where you and probably most of us in this forum here is that we assume as engineers that planning is inherent in everything we do, particularly in complex technology issues. You take that for granted. When I listen to your presentation, everything that you have done in your life, you seem to have planned. Even in school, when you were building rockets, when you should have been doing work. Planning is inbuilt for you. what we have found in BAPE in getting involved recently in the national drive for renewable energy is that nothing could be further from the truth. There is no plan, Bizzy. I mean, one of the things that I personally have been trying to find for the last 5 years, and I've been, as you know, on the Electric Light and Power Committee. I've worked with the ministry. I've had the opportunity. I obviously worked at Light and Power for many, many years. This transformation that we are talking about in Barbados is unprecedented. There's no other country in the world that has sought to move from fossil to 100% renewable in the kind of time frame that we are talking about, because of the complexity of that transformation. I mean, this will be the most complex technology change to have happened in Barbados in the last century if we were able to do it.
True.
But on the other hand, I agree with you. It is viable. It can be done. It is practical. It certainly makes economic sense. It is even more than you said, because we spend about $500 million a year on fuel. And as you said, just by not having to buy, if we were to do it successfully, just by not buying fuel, you will more than pay the capital costs. And then you go off all the other years actually making a cornering money, so to speak. Yeah. I also agree with you that whereas the battery technology is very useful for mobile applications like vehicles and things like that, it is pump storage that at the national level is far more viable, because when you do it, you're doing it for 100 years. But Bizzy, there needs to be an engineered plan that says, here's where we want to be, here's where we are, and here are the steps that will get us there. These must be structured steps. They must be designed the same way that Andrew would, if a civil engineer or Phillips would design a building. They would, before we start that building, we would know exactly how much steel we're going to need, how many bolts we're going to need, how much cement, because we design it, we model it on the computer. No such plan exists for energy in Barbados. And that is the only problem that we have at BAPE. Give me a plan that every engineer on this forum takes for granted. And BAPE is 150% behind this thing. We actually love it. But we refuse to accept that something as complex as this can happen without a clear, concise, well thought out, and peer-reviewed plan that tells us what the end is guaranteed to be. As if when we were building the central bank building, we did that. Before we tell me why we don't have that, Bizzy, and I will be. And
I am not aware that we don't have it. I thought we had it.
Oh,
but
so
it's just not being implemented.
That's why I actually thought till I started to look for it. I have not been able to find it. So the day that I find that plan, you will find me running right behind you and pushing. But I need to see the plan. We need to put a plan in place. We need to get architects to sit down and look at this to see, how is Barbados going to look when we do this? We need engineers that will say, how is this system going to work when there's no rain, when there's no sun for 2 days, as happens almost every November? How is this going to work when everybody is in Philadelphia?
Colonel, yes, I have done an Excel model that shows exactly all that you want to see.
You can Bizzy. It's too complex for Excel model. Trust me.
I did it.
I actually am a power engineer. I worked there for 40 years. It is too complex.
I know it needs to be refined. It needs to be refined.
That's what I want.
Prime Minister, I was at a public meeting, and the Prime Minister and I got into a little bit of an argument, and she told me, I do not agree with you unless you are going to send me a one-pager by tomorrow morning to show how this thing can be done. And I spent the whole night doing a one-pager in Excel to model the thing and send it to her. So I would be happy to send you the thing and let you pick it apart.
No, don't bother send me. Listen, there's a reason why this, as you said, this innovation in renewable energy is one of the most outstanding innovations in the last couple of decades. Can you tell me a reason why all of those countries with all the money out there that can put people on the moon and build nuclear ships and all that, why do they not have 100% renewable energy?
Well, because time to do
because
it.
it is extremely complex, it is fickle, and there is no
True.
precedent. So you
But
cannot,
Scotland has nearly licked it, you know.
Scotland and Norway and all them, and those places in South America that have hydro and all that, you
Yeah.
can't count those. You can't count those. Barbados is not in that ballpark. We
No.
are starting from almost 100% fossil, and we're trying to move to renewable. If we had hydro, or we had bio, or we had the geothermal that started us at 60% or 70%,
Yeah.
that'd be a different ballgame. But we
True.
don't have that. Right.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
Did
But,
you
but,
know that
busy, but generally speaking, though, this is I mean, not to take over, but I'm really I thank you very, very much for your presentation. I actually would like to invite a number of the other engineers on the in BAPE and in the island to actually not only make the kind of contribution that you've made, but to actually share it with the younger engineers and with Barbadian public, so that people actually understand. You mentioned about the importance of engineering. The reason why China is running the world, China is run by engineers, as you all know. It has been for the
they
last
got a lot
30
of
years.
Bajans. They got a lot of Bajans that will tell you that they can't understand why the prime ministers are friendly with the Chinese and so on. But the prime minister friendly with the Chinese because the Chinese are engineers. And they know what they're doing and they get it done. They make up their mind what they're going to do and they get it done. They don't fool around. And if you're standing in my way, I'm going to roll over you. That's the Chinese attitude.
Yeah. It is. And I think this is why we value what you have brought to the table in Barbados, in BAP, and certainly to this forum. So, and I really want to close by saying,
well, I thank you very much for that, but be careful
very, very
that you don't cause me the pain in my back to be increasing.
Okay, sir.
I'm sorry my wife wasn't listening to this.
All right, Mr. Williams, before I give you I'm going to give you the final say, and then I will do some housekeeping matters before we close off tonight. You have received several honors and awards over time, including the Ernst & Young World Entrepreneur Award in 2001, this nation's Gold Crown of Merit. You've been elevated to the Fellow of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers, and now you further elevation to being the recipient of the Freedom of Barbados honor. How have these awards and recognitions encouraged you and inspired you, sir?
Look, I am my only wish in life. See, I told you already, is that when I lie down to die, that I can reflect on as many people as possible that I have enabled while I was here on earth to improve their quality of life and to be good family people and so on. That's all. All these accolades and so on. People ask me, so how should I address you? I said, try just busy. That's all right. I don't need all these accolades and things. It's very, very nice. You know, I am honored and humbled by the fact that people will want to give me all these accolades. But the truth is that I'm just an ordinary country boy that decided to do things and focus on doing them and manage to surround myself with a lot of people that help me tremendously. Leonard Payne is one of those people. The old Bill Gill that passed ever since. He was just a planter when he didn't have a job because he was trying to improve the profitability of the rum industry. But we got him to stop that. I think the rum industry missed him, but never mind. He turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. Then came Leonard Payne, and so on. So, and then David Staples, and so on and so forth. And then now Andre Walcott. So and the Irish guys. Barry O'Brien and Kieran Burke and all those fellas, Dwight Granham, all these people helped me along the way. And all those structural systems guys, that when Archie Zuliani in St. Kitts was given the task by the government of St. Kitts to rebuild a hotel for the independence celebrations. And they would give him a golf course in exchange if he could get the hotel done. And he called on us to do it, and I went down there. So, and he threatened me with the concrete boots if we didn't get it done on time. And I told him, I said, you got two thugs standing up behind me, about 7 feet tall, from Sicily. And I said to him, Mr. Zuliani, you have to understand this, that you may know how to do the concrete boots, if I don't think, but we are specialists in concrete boots if you don't pay me on time. And we shook hands across the table, and we were the only company that was paid on time. So, you know, you just got to be, I don't know what to say, man. It's get up before anybody else on a morning, work hard during the day, try to do the best you can all the time, have fun doing what you're doing. You make sure that what you set out to do in life is something that you enjoy doing. I started to build racing cars. You know how much fun I had beating the fellas with cars that cost 5 times as much as mine? That was a lot of fun. When I started to race boats, one of the guys in the structural systems workshop decided that we definitely, there was a movement. You got to go on holiday because you're too miserable now, and we need you to go on holiday. That was after 5 years without holidays. So I went on holiday. He lent me a sunfish. I went out there sailing the sunfish, and a guy with a Hobie cat who whizzed past me, and I was with my little son, and I can't catch this man at all. I went ashore, called my supplier in Houston, and said, send a Hobie cat in the next container. And that fella lived to bite the dust. I made sure that I looking him up, and I got my Hobie cat to beat him. So that is the spirit that you have to have, man. And make sure that you can enjoy what you're doing, that you're not doing something that you're going to worry your conscience and so on. But sometimes I do things that do worry my conscience. But I pray every morning to make me know don't do those things. But they're very basic rules to run your life by, and they're all in my little book there.
And if you permit me, Williams, I'm going to actually, that's why I want to close off the session by reading the golden rules you've at the beginning of your book, and then some personal beliefs that you have at the end. So I'll just read them now. So the book begins on page 2 with the golden rules. Safeguard your credibility. It means everything in business. Be honest with your banker. Mutual trust is essential. Be fair to your customers. They are the lifeblood of your business. Be fair to your suppliers. A reliable supplier is worth as much as a good customer. Be fair to your employees. They are the beating heart of your business. Be bonded by your word. A handshake followed by commitment to do what was agreed is more valuable than a legal contract that ends up in a dispute. It takes 2 hands to clap. Smart, one-sided agreements end in resentment and failure. Choose your partners and staff carefully. Clashes of fundamental beliefs can ruin you. Look after your health. Without good health, no amount of success is worth anything. The secret to success is to give more for less. Find ways to do that. A smile costs nothing. So these are the golden rules that Mr. Williams has at the beginning of his book. And then at the very end, he has a set of personal beliefs. If you make a lot of money, put it to use helping others while you are living. That is wealth's greatest satisfaction. Give people more than they expect and do it cheerfully. Train someone to replace you, otherwise you can never move upwards. Remember, no one is indispensable. Never embellish the truth. The simplest form is always the best. No flash of brilliance can ever defeat persistent dogged determination, for persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. There is no security on earth, just opportunity. Credibility and integrity cost nothing but are priceless. No amount of money can buy either one. And the last comment in the book says, when it comes time to die, make sure all you have to do is die. Most Honorable Ralph Bizzy Williams, we are indeed thankful for the time that you shared with us this evening, to be able to sit and pick your brain and to be so honest and candid with us. We really do appreciate it, sir. And we wish you continued health and continued success in your ventures going forward. Thank you very much for sharing with us this afternoon, sir.
I am honored to be your guest this evening, and I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to my fellow engineers across the island. I would especially wish to thank Andrew Hutchinson for all that he has done to help me to get through in projects that I needed the help to get through it. And there are many others like Thomas Herbert and the same David Staples and so on, Leonard Payne and Jackie Rudder, all those people and numerous people that operate machines and do a really good job. Mark Hinkson, the head of structural systems. All those people are salts of the earth. I did not do what I have achieved by myself. I was helped along the way by every one of those people and hundreds more. So I cannot take credit for where Williams Industries is. I can only take credit for being the leader that tried to keep everybody in line. Thank you again for having me on the show. Good night.
Thank you, sir. And just to let our colleagues know, Mr. Williams, I will, with your permission, just let them know that there are 2 books being currently written. Mr. Williams, you want to say a quick word on those before you go?
Well, there is one on the history of Williams Industries, which will feature all of the people that have helped me for more than 10 years. There will be a chapter that will highlight those people, and the history will talk about how the company was developed. A lot of that I've spoken about this evening, and the other book after that, which I have not started, will be a book about my personal life, and I don't know if that might ever get published, but I'll write it down. It might be a little controversial.
Well, we certainly look forward to those books when they're published, sir, and I guarantee you that the association certainly will put it out there to all and sundry once they're available.
Thank you very much again.
Gentlemen and ladies, I want to thank you again for joining us for our first webinar for the year. We will invite you back next month when we'll have our February webinar, and I ask you to just keep an eye on the flyers that will come out advising you what that webinar is going to be about. I would like to remind our members, please, the end of the month is coming. This is the first month of the year. Please remember to make yourself financial with the organization and get your fees paid up as soon as possible. And I would also want to remind you, anyone out there who has a willingness to serve on a subcommittee or a possible board, please do call Stacy and leave your contact information that the executive committee can reach out to you. Remember, this is a CPD event, and again, please do call the office to claim those CPD points. Thank you so very much, and I bid you all a good night.
Thank Thank you, Bizzy. Thank you, Vincent. All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.